3 spine-chilling Christmas horror stories exposed. Terrifying encounters you won't believe. Eva's heart raced as she gazed out at the cracked sidewalks of Hillsborough. Christmas was supposed to sparkle, yet the air felt heavy, suffocating, like a weight pressing down on her chest. The bare trees whispered in a haunting melody, reminding her of the dark shadows that lurked behind every corner of her run-down neighborhood. It was as if the town itself held its breath, waiting for something sinister to unfold. Next door, Mr. Hargrove was at it again, his house a gaudy light show, too vibrant for a street that had all but given up on joy. He spent hours decorating with bizarre figures, way too lifelike. Eva had ignored the whispers of her children, Mia and Liam, as they mentioned the oddities resembling the people who had vanished over the years. This Christmas, amid her struggles with eviction and that dreaded part-time job, she needed hope. She brushed off their fears with a chuckle, convincing herself that kids see ghosts where there are none. But panic clawed at her as Christmas approached. Those strange noises outside her window, the rustling that felt too close, too real, left her shivering under the covers. One evening at the grocery store, she caught snippets of frantic gossip about Mr. Hargrove's dark past. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. What if there was truth to the children's fanciful tales? Alone at home, she heard a soft thud, just one, but it reverberated through her bones. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The next day, her car's tire lay flat, as if someone had deliberately set her up for a fall. A chill ran down her spine. After a call to the police, their dismissive tone echoed in her mind, leaving her to wonder if she was losing her grip. What if the rumors were true? What if Mr. Hargrove was connected to something dark? The nights grew longer. Mia and Liam cried from nightmares filled with twisted, hollow-eyed decorations. They spoke of figures trying to pull them into a shadow, into the dark. Christmas Eve arrived shrouded in foreboding. Eva's fears bubbled to the surface. What was happening to her family? Gripped by urgency, she steeled herself, confronting Mr. Hargrove, the specter of their neighbor looming like a gnarled tree against the dim moonlight. Her breath caught in her throat as she stumbled into the truth. A legacy of terror twisting around local folklore. Rituals of sacrifice meant to shield the town from ruin. Just as the clock neared midnight, the doorbell rang, echoing through the stillness, each chime thick with dread. In that moment, Eva realized the stakes were higher than she thought. The laughter of children, the warmth of family, teetered on the edge of something horrific. Would she unravel the mystery woven into the darkness, or had she already wandered too far? Eva hesitated, her hand hovering over the doorknob. The bell's persistent ringing sent jolts of icy fear through her veins. She could almost hear the whispers of her children swirling around her, helpless pleas mingling with the chimes. What lay beyond that door? She peered through the peephole, her breath shallow. The porch was deserted. No sign of life. With a deep breath, she twisted the knob, steeling herself for whatever awaited her. The door creaked open slowly, and a rush of icy air pulled at her skin like skeletal fingers. Nothing, but the silence felt alive, thrumming with an unseen energy. Shivers racked her frame as she stepped outside, scanning the darkened street. Mr. Hargrove's house loomed next door, its brightly lit facade depicting twisted Christmas joy while casting long shadows over the yard. She could feel a magnetic tug drawing her closer. Against her better judgment, her feet moved forward as if controlled by strings pulled by an unseen puppeteer. The air turned thick, saturated with the smell of damp earth and something else, something rotten. The decorations glinted in the light, but their cheer felt false, malevolent. Eva's heart raced faster. What if her children were right? What if those bizarre figures were indeed more than mere plastic? Mom? Mia's small voice echoed in her mind, a plea thick with fear. With determination, Eva marched to the front of Mr. Hargrove's lawn, overwhelmed by the urge to confront him. Yet, as she reached the threshold under the flickering lights, the windows of his house slid open, casting eerie silhouettes on the walls much too tall, much too thin. "Eva," Mr. Hargrove croaked from within, his voice a low rasp that curled around her like smoke. What a delightful surprise! A wave of nausea rolled over her. She stepped back, instinctively glancing at her home down the road. It felt like a fortress, but was it really? Suddenly, another harsh bang echoed from behind her. She spun around, dread pooling in her stomach. A dark shape darted across the street, a figure cloaked in shadows, too fast for her eyes to grasp. It vanished behind a car parked at the curb, only to resurface again, closer this time. Stood watching. "Mommy!" Liam's scream pierced the night. It shattered her, sending adrenaline coursing through her limbs. She bolted back toward their home, heart pounding louder than her own footsteps. As she burst through the door, she found her children huddled together on the sofa, eyes wide, faces pale. "It's back," whispered Mia, trembling. Eva's breath hitched as she scanned the room, the walls closing in. "What is?" she managed, trying to keep her voice steady. "Mr. Hargrove's decorations. They moved," Liam stammered, pointing out the window. "They're watching us." Eva dared to glance outside. The strange decorations stood frozen, yet felt alive, as if they were waiting, hungry, eager. The flickering lights reflected a tableau of frozen horror, the figures twisting into grotesque versions of the people they used to be, the people who had vanished. A knock resounded from the back door. The frantic tattoo of the wood pulled her from her paralyzed state. Something was pushing against her family's sanctuary, searching for entry. She faced her children, their eyes wide with fright. "Stay here," she urged, voice barely a whisper. As she approached the door, a lump formed in her throat. With every step, she felt the weight of that ancient darkness crawling under her skin. She reached for the doorknob, hand trembling. What could she possibly let in? And just as she prepared to open it, the knocks grew louder, more insistent, each pounding echoing like a heartbeat in the night. What would she find on the other side? Was it salvation or doom? The banging ceased abruptly, leaving silence so dense it felt like a padded cell. Eva's breath quickened. Instinctively, she recoiled from the door but caught sight of her children's wide eyes, pools of pure terror mirrored in the soft glow of the lamp. She couldn't leave them in that state, couldn't abandon them to whatever lurked outside. The door shuddered again, this time accompanied by a low, throaty growl, one that sent heat rushing to her cheeks and ice curling in her stomach. What was out there? She felt trapped, the walls pressing closer, suffocating her with dread. "Mommy, please don't open it," Mia whispered, clutching her brother tighter. "No matter what happens, we stick together," Eva managed to choke out, though her own voice quaked with uncertainty. The knocking resumed, a deliberate, almost rhythmic rapping that seemed to synchronize with her heartbeat. She placed a shaky hand on the doorknob, its cool surface making her skin prickle. What if she opened the door and the figure from the shadows rushed in, claws extended, ready to claw them apart? But the more she hesitated, the louder the noise became, every pound echoing like a death knell. She twisted the knob firmly and pulled, revealing only the inky blackness of the back porch. Nothing moved. The chill of the night air poured into the house, thick and oppressive. Then she heard its soft, mocking laughter rising from the darkness, laced with malice. Eva, the voice was like a slithering snake, slipping into her mind. "Why don't you let me in?" Her stomach lurched as she stumbled back, slamming the door shut, bolting it with trembling hands. "Stay behind me," she shouted to her kids, heart racing. "Stay close." Suddenly, there came a thud that sent a shockwave through the house, stronger than before, as if something heavy had just struck the door hard. The walls rattled. She pressed her back against the door, feeling every shudder of the wood as it protested against the invisible force on the other side. "Mia! Liam!" Eva called, her voice breaking. "We need to hide. Now!" She ushered them away from the door, her mind racing. The kitchen was too exposed. They couldn't stay there. The space felt trapped, constricted by the shadows in the corners. Under the stairs, she commanded, leading them to the narrow space beneath the stairwell. It was dark, but they squeezed in, huddling together in a tight ball of panic. "Mommy, what is happening?" Liam whimpered, his small body shaking against her. "Just stay quiet," Eva whispered, holding them tightly. The laughter from outside turned into hissing whispers that slithered under the door, slinking through the cracks like smoke. "Little Eva, where are your children?" The voice wove through her, wrapping around her thoughts in a sinister embrace. Her heart raced at its implication. It knew them, could see them, and there was something distinctly playful about its tone, like a cat toying with a mouse. The darkness outside shifted again, shadows slinking around the edges of their sanctuary. She felt a chill as the whispers turned into frantic, incoherent babbling, rising in volume, filling her mind with chaos. Suddenly, the door rattled once more, but this time it felt different. Felt like it was testing the lock. Then silence. The only sound was the hushed breaths of her children. The world outside turned away from their sanctuary, watching, waiting. Minutes or hours passed, Eva couldn't tell. Her heart thudded against her ribs. Every sound felt amplified. The door, once a solid barrier, now felt like brittle glass. One knock could shatter their fragile hiding place. "Mommy, what do we do?" Mia murmured, glancing at the door fearfully. Just wait," Eva breathed, trying to summon strength amidst the spiraling panic. But a distinct, familiar creak echoed from above, the sound of someone stepping onto the top stair, heavy and deliberate. Footsteps. Someone was inside the house and they were coming for them. What would they do now? Could they escape the shadows that now bled into their home? The footsteps grew louder, each one a slow, deliberate thud that made the hair on the back of Eva's neck stand up. They knew the house. With every step, Eva could feel their breath quickening, the space under the stairs becoming a claustrophobic pit of dread. "Stay quiet, please," she whispered urgently, squeezing her children tighter, as if her arms could shield them from whatever approached. She peeked through the narrow gap beneath the stair, barely able to breathe. The dim light from the lamp flickered ominously, shadows dancing above them, malevolent spirits caught in a macabre performance. Deep inside, an overwhelming urge to flee surged within her. But where would they go? The footsteps stopped, just outside the stairwell. She could hear a low, raspy breathing, heavy and labored like something dead trying to reanimate. Then, a slow creak shattered the tense air as something pressed against the stair railing. Mama Liam's voice trembled like a fragile leaf in autumn. Tremors of fear coursed through Eva. Sure, the word barely left her lips before it was swallowed by the silence. The entity above them shifted, and the air turned thick with a sense of foreboding. "Little Eva," the voice echoed again, this time closer, clearer. "Your hiding place is so cozy." Bile rose in her throat. It knew her name, knew they were here. She felt the children cling to her, their small, warm bodies pressed against her as if they could absorb her fear. Suddenly, a sound erupted from above, something crashing, something falling. The china cabinet? A picture frame? Eva's heart raced as she imagined it splintering apart. Then, all at once, the laughter returned, cold and mocking. "I can smell your fear, sweet Eva. Just waiting to see if you'll come out and play." A slam echoed through the house. The door to the basement was flung open, casting a beam of sickly yellow light into the stairwell. The eyes that followed were not human, a black void surrounded by a scarred face, grinning wider than what should be physically possible. Eva couldn't breathe. No, they couldn't come down here. Not to them. There was no panic, just resolve. She leaned down to her children. "When I say go, we run. Okay? Do you understand? We can't leave you," Mia cried. "Listen to me." Eva's voice was sharp, her eyes wide. "You trust me, don't you? We run. You push past whoever that is, and you find the front door." The children nodded, terror etched on their faces, but determination glimmered through. Okay, Eva took a long, shaky breath, her heart pounding in sync with the growls that echoed off the walls. 1, 2, but before she could reach 3, the figure lurched forward, dropping down through the opening, long claws scraping against the railing. Time slowed. Eva's mind screamed to move, but her body froze before the sheer horror of it. 3. But she never said it aloud. Instead, she squeezed her children's hands and surged forward like a dam bursting, propelling them out from beneath the stairs. They burst into the dingy living room, scanning for paths to safety, but the shadows shifted, their movements no longer confined to corners. The windows, usually a barrier to the outside world, now felt vulnerable witnesses to the horror they were fleeing. Eva shouted, hearing the creatures growl behind them, hot and fetid. Just as they reached the front door, she could feel the darkness swirling around them, wrapping like a thick fog. "Mommy!" Liam screamed as her grip slipped. A dread-filled second passed as she turned just in time to see the creature swoop down. But it was too late. All at once, the door burst open. What would happen to them out in the night? Would they find the safety they craved? Or was the terror merely waiting for them just beyond the threshold? The night swallowed them whole as they tumbled through the door, falling into the icy chill of the outside world. The moon hung high, a sickly orb casting pale light over the yard, revealing long shadows that seemed to reach and pull at them with thin, claw-like fingers. "Run!" Eva's voice cut through the numbing cold, a raw, desperate command. She darted forward, her heart pounding like a drum in her ears, urging her limbs to move faster despite the creeping dread that clawed at her mind. But the children hesitated. The sudden shift from the warmth of the house to the biting air left them disoriented. Eva turned back, her eyes wide, met with their terrified faces glowing luminescent under the moonlight. "Mama, I'm scared," Mia whimpered, her small hands trembling in the dark. "Don't stop. You have to trust me," Eva yelled, fighting against the urge to gather them back into her arms, to protect them from the haunting memories still looming in the doorway. Behind her, the door gaped open, an invitation to the shadowed thing within. The creature's growl echoed in the night like a guttural promise. "Go, go, go!" She pushed them forward. They raced across the yard, each step crunching on the frost-kissed grass, but every second felt weighted with fear. The world around them dimmed as if the very fabric of reality thinned with every heartbeat. A sudden rush of icy wind whipped past them, sending a shiver through Eva. "Mama, it's gonna get us." Liam's breath came in frantic gasps, his eyes darting back toward the house. "Just keep moving." With the woods looming ahead like dark sentinels, they pressed on. But the neighborhood felt different, as if the shadows danced with life, swirling in unnatural patterns. Eva glanced back, a pit forming in her stomach as the door slowly creaked further open, the darkness beyond it thickening into a wall. Then came the laughter again, that chilling cackle that echoed and twisted in the wind. "You can't escape, sweet Eva." A wave of ice-cold terror washed over her. "We have to cross to the other side. Head for the trees." Mia stumbled, throwing a glance over her shoulder, and Eva felt a heavy dread press down on her heart. There was something lurking, something watching, almost tasting their fear in the air. She could sense it creeping closer. The air became electric, charged with danger. "Faster," Eva urged, summoning every ounce of strength. They reached the edge of the woods, the trees standing sentinel, black and gnarled like twisted fingers pointing toward them. They dove into the underbrush, the branches snagging at their clothes, pulling them back into the depths of the forest. Eva turned, squinting into the abyss, listening harder. The laughter had died, replaced with the rustling of leaves, and was that breathing? "Mommy, I want to go home," Liam whimpered as shadows shifted among the trees. "No," she said fiercely. "We can't go back. We'll die if we do." Every instinct screamed to flee, but deeper within the woods, a low moan rose, then splintered into a cacophony of voices. Echoing whispers entwined with her name, wrapping around her like a vice. "Evie, stay close," she croaked, fear choking her voice, as they edged further into the dark. They were not alone. The realization fell over her like a shroud. Then, a snap, branches breaking, something moving. Her heart froze. Something was right behind them. Run! Eva shouted again, panic pouring from her lungs as they hesitated. But where? Which way? And then, the cracks of broken twigs crescendoed. They felt it, an insatiable hunger closing in, the terror all-consuming. Go! But could she save them this time? The choice lingered like a wounded answer in the chilling night air, leaving them to wonder if they had truly escaped or if horror was waiting to claim them. Right there in the dark. What if the real terror was watching them now? Its hunger palpable and malignant. Branches tore at their clothes as they plunged deeper into the woods, the darkness swallowing them whole. Eva could hear the rhythmic pounding of her heart, competing with the rustling whispers that edged closer, creeping like smoke through the underbrush. Shadows danced around them, stretching and recoiling, as if eager to join whatever was pursuing them. "Mama!" Mia cried, her voice trembling. "I can't see. I can't see. Don't look back." Eva snapped, fighting the panic that eased its grip around her throat. "Just keep running." The ground beneath their feet grew uneven, littered with fallen leaves and hidden roots. Each footfall sent a jolt of fear coursing through her. They were separating from the world they knew, from safety. The woods felt alive, its breath heavy and oppressive. Memories of bedtime stories filled with rustling leaves transformed into nightmarish visions of grasping hands and glaring eyes lurking just beyond the shadows. Liam stumbled, crying out as he fell. Eva turned back, her heart clenched tight. "Get up, we've got to go." With frantic determination, she pulled him to his feet, the icy chill of his skin sending a jolt of fear through her. A low growl vibrated in the underbrush behind them. Eva's mind raced. Every story she ever told her children about the woods eclipsed by the raw terror of this moment. What if it's already taken everything? Liam whispered, his eyes wide with sheer panic. "No, keep moving," she urged, clenching her teeth. The lower half of the trees curled inward, like hunched figures waiting in shadows, their dark trunks resembling grotesque bodies hiding secrets. Abruptly, the rustling shifted from behind to the right, a new presence slipping deeper into the dark underbrush. Eva's breath was jagged in her throat. The hunting growls morphed into a dissonant symphony of sounds, overlapped whispers thrumming through the soil, vibrating in the air. Eva, the call wrapped around her, seductive and cold. "Mama, please." Mia's voice cracked, pulling Eva back from crumbling under the weight of that haunting familiarity. "We're almost there," she shouted, her own voice unsteady. "Just keep pushing through." As they stumbled, the underbrush thickened, a wall of gnarled branches looming like a dark fortress. They squeezed between two large oaks, their bark twisted like faces frozen in agony. And then, beyond the canopy, a glimmer caught Eva's eye, a weak, flickering light. "Over there," she cried, pushing them onward. But as they approached, the glow shifted, pulsing in a way that felt wrong, alive and warning. First it was small, then massive, and now it filled their vision. A fireplace offered in the cruelest of temptations. "Mama," Mia murmured, stepping hesitantly toward it as if drawn by an unseen force. "What is it?" "No." Eva grabbed her arm, panic coursing through her. "Stay with me. Don't look at it." The flickering flickered faster, shaped like faces melting together, whispering promises. "Join us." Eva, let go of your fear. The world around them warped as the shadows shifted, forming choking hands that threatened to pull them into the embrace of the flickering light. Instinct screamed for them to run, yet the warmth radiating from the light drew her, a welcoming glow in a world of madness. "Mama, I want to go to it," Liam begged, his voice merging with the whispers. "No," Eva shouted, tearing her gaze away, fingers tightening around their wrists. "We must go back." But the pull was intoxicating, each step forward a wrestling match against the urge to give in to that haunting allure. In the distance, an echoing shriek pierced the air, a sound of pain, of loss. Her soul ached to turn toward it. "Mama, let us just go closer." Mia pulled, but the terror bubbled to the surface. As they wrestled against the invisible fetters wrapping around them, A sudden roar erupted from the darkness. The growling morphed into a thundering cacophony, the ground shaking beneath their feet. The shadows surged with violence, and the flicker dimmed, framing a grotesque maw behind. "Run! Now!" Eva screamed, the words torn from her throat as she yanked them away from the beckoning light. The woods erupted in chaos, a chase. A hunt. Her breath came in gasps as they dashed back into the depths, the shadows howling and cackling as something monstrous broke from its hiding place. And as they darted into a hollow, a moment of clarity struck like lightning. But the question loomed in the weight of the air. What lies ahead? The forest seemed to pull them deeper into the abyss, and there was only one truth she could grasp. They were not safe. Could they outpace the darkness, or would it soon reclaim them? The desperate flight wove them through thick tendrils of fog, obscuring the path ahead. Each breath tasted of damp earth and decay, wrapping around their throats like a noose. Eva's heart raced as the chilling cries of the unseen beckoned, growing louder, more insistent, the chorus of the lost. "Mama, what is happening?" Mia gasped, glancing over her shoulder. The shadows whispered her name in mocking tones that slithered through the air like a venomous snake. "Just keep moving," Eva shouted, her voice breaking but sharp. They pushed ahead, driven by sheer instinct. The oppressive weight of the forest pressed down, each tree looming like a ghostly sentry. Just as they crossed into a clearing, Eva froze. A twisted figure stood there, almost human but twisted and contorted, arms outstretched. Its skin glistened wet and shimmery, slick like oil as though lighting the way. It was grotesque, yet possessing an unsettling beauty, shaded by the moonlight peering through the thicket as if it too was afraid to witness the horror unfolding. "Mama, who is that?" Liam's voice wavered in the stillness, eyes wide with terror. The thing's eyes were dark voids, swallowing the light, and its mouth opened long and wide, revealing rows of jagged teeth covered in something black and glistening. "Run!" Eva screamed, pulling them back before the figure could reach for them, its unnatural movements smooth and terrifying. They veered off to the left, climbing over exposed roots and jagged rocks. The whispers morphed into a cacophony of laughter, scattered voices overlaying each other in a maddening rush. Where was their escape? "Mama, I'm scared," Mia cried, stumbling as fear cracked the little girl's composure. The forest felt like it was alive, each tree watching, judging, as if the very ground threatened to swallow them whole. Suddenly, the growling resumed from behind them, rumble in the distance like an approaching storm. They ran faster, legs straining. The clearing now widened, revealing a small hut flickering with an inviting light. Eva's heart sank. What if it was the very source of the evil? "Mama, look, we have to go in there." Mia pointed, but Eva hesitated, dread pooling in her gut. "Stay close," she murmured, edged toward the entrance, fear warring with desperation. They stepped inside the dim space, the air heavy with dampness and something else, a sweet yet sickening scent gnawing at her instincts. The hut creaked under their weight, shadows flickered against the wooden walls, molding shapes that appeared to whisper secrets long forgotten. There were remnants of lives lived tucked under the floorboards, forgotten toys, and yellowed pages filled with tales of despair. "Please, Mama, I want to go home," Liam whimpered, clutching her hand tightly. "Me too," Eva whispered, staring into the heart of the hut where a fire crackled weakly, casting eerie shadows around. And just as she turned to approach the flames, the door slammed shut, forceful and final. The walls seemed to pulse, closing in around them. The warmth from the flickering fire curled around her heart, and the whispers grew louder, demanding and pleading. "Join us," they chanted, voices rising in a discordant hymn that clawed at the edges of her mind. With a sudden burst of clarity, Eva bolted toward the door, throwing herself against it, but it held fast, as if locked by a malevolent force. A giggle echoed from the shadows, followed by the low growl morphing into a monstrous roar. "Mama, what is happening?" Mia screamed, pressing her small body against Eva. Something shifted in the corner of her vision. A massive shadow moved, emerging from the dark recesses. The grotesque figure crept through the shadows once more, its expression a grotesque mask of laughter and hunger. The glowing mouths appeared behind it, as if the very walls were coming alive to claim them. Eva's breath came quick, eyes darting as she realized they were trapped. The only way out of this nightmare might mean confronting the darkness that threatened to consume them. Find a way out, she urged her children, grasping their shoulders tight. The walls seemed to twitch, the shadows pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. The roars grew louder, and in a brief moment of icy clarity, she wondered if she should confront the figure or keep searching for an escape. But deep down, the question burrowed in her mind. What horrors awaited them if the darkness finally claimed them? As the shadows thickened and the laughter twisted into shrieks, she knew they had to act fast, or they would be lost forever. Eva pressed her back against the door, heart hammering as the growls morphed into a deafening roar, a sound that shook the very bones of the hut. The shadows reeled, shifting like dark smoke, and for a fleeting moment, a sickening thought wormed its way in. Perhaps this was their fate. Perhaps all paths led to this very end. Listen. She peered into the gloom, swallowing hard. A whisper danced through the air, slithering into her ears. Help us. Join us. Liam squeezed her hand, panic seeping through her veins as the flickering light from the fire dulled. It was as if the dark was devouring their last hope. Mama, what do we do? He whimpered, eyes glistening with unshed tears. Eva forced herself to breathe, her mind racing. We need to find something, anything. She searched the cluttered corners, where the shadows had begun to writhe. Old trunks lay half open, spilling out dusty linens and more forgotten remnants. There had to be something useful, some way to fight back. A sickening laughter exploded from the shadows, a cacophony that made her insides twist. Join us, they whispered again, and this time, the shadows leaned closer, a rush of cold air stinging her skin. The grotesque figure, that ghastly mockery of humanity, hovered just out of reach, its mouth stretching wider, teeth glinting like obsidian. Stay away, Eva shouted, her voice cracking. She was losing all composure, and the thought crushed her. What kind of mother was she if she couldn't protect her children? Mama, I see something, whispered Mia, pointing into the darkness. Eva turned sharply. A faint glow emitted from behind a battered trunk, barely able to pierce through the heaviness surrounding them. The shadows seemed to withdraw slightly, leaving a path for her to approach. Get behind me. Eva ushered her children back as she stumbled toward the mysterious light. The old trunk creaked ominously, opening a sliver that looked less like a trunk and more like a mouth ready to consume her. Her hand trembled as she reached carefully to pull the trunk fully open. There, nestled inside amid the dusty scraps, lay an old lantern. She grabbed it, hope igniting within her as she fumbled with the mechanism. The flame flickered to life, casting wavy shadows that danced on the walls. Mama! Mia's voice, strained and desperate, pulled her attention back. The grotesque figure lunged forward. The whispers crescendoed, and the air grew thick as if the very structure of the hut fought against them. Light! Eva screamed, raising the lantern high, the glow cutting through the darkness like a knife. The walls shivered at its brilliance, shadows recoiling as she stepped back, instinctively shielding her children. Mama, will it work? Liam's quivering face filled her with dread, but they had no choice. Stay close, she urged, eyes fixed on the figure as it paused, perplexed by the new light. For a beat, silence swallowed the room, tension crackling like static in the air. But then, with a sudden burst, the monstrous laughter returned, awful and taunting, ripping through the heavy silence. You are ours. You cannot escape. The lantern flickered violently, and Eva's heart sank. The light was dimming. Please, please, she whispered fiercely, clutching the lantern tighter. Just then, the hut groaned, the walls shaking as the darkness inched closer, trying to envelop them once more. Mama! Mia shrieked as shadows crawled up her small legs. No! Eva shouted, stepping forward, brandishing the lantern as the fire flickered. Get back! Leave us! And as she held it aloft, enchanted somehow by its power, An unexpected force burst forward from the lantern itself. An intense beam erupted, bathing the room in a blinding light that sent the shadows screeching into the corners. "Run!" she barked, urgency clawing at her words. But the door still loomed closed. The paths behind them morphed like echoes. Dark faces formed just beyond reach. "I won't let you take them," Eva screamed, pushing through the suffocating darkness as hands wrapped around her ankles, pulling her down. Just then, the door shook as if it fought against an unseen barrier. Would it open, or would they be consumed by the night? As she focused on the light, a terrible thought twisted in her gut. Was she fighting to save her children? Or was the light feeding into the dark? The tension swelled, expecting an answer, the lantern flickering dangerously. "Make a choice," a voice thundered from the depths of the shadows. And then the air around them shattered with violent intensity. Light battling darkness, what choice would she be forced to make? The beam of the lantern blazed fiercely, pushing the shadows back, but the air vibrated with an unsettling energy. Eva could feel the pressure building, an unseen force slamming into her chest, squeezing the breath from her lungs. The shadows writhed, contorting against the walls, clawing for a way back into the light, scrambling like rats in a panic. Then, with a jarring crash, the door splintered, an ominous crack that echoed through the room. "It's opening," Mia squealed, hope igniting in her voice, but it sounded hollow against the backdrop of chaos. "No!" The monstrous laughter swelled, drowning her children's excitement. "You cannot leave. You belong here." Eva's heart lurched as she turned. She had only a moment to decide. All around, the shadows reached for her children, fingers slithering over their skin, chilling her bones. Behind her, the door gaped wide, beckoning to a chilling night. She weighed her options, an instinctively primal choice pulsing in her veins. "Hold the light," she shouted, feeling the surge of power coursing through her. The lantern, it became the center of everything, the only thing separating them from darkness. She thrust it forward, willing it to burn brighter. The light flickered and roared, chasing the shadows to the edges of the room. But just as quickly, the flame sputtered again, dimming as the darkness lunged. "Please," Liam cried out, tears streaming down his cheeks. "Don't let them take us." "I won't," Eva promised, shaking with rage and desperation. She stepped closer to the door, trying to will her body into action. But the voices in the dark rose into a horrifying chorus, taunting her resolve. "Mama, the darkness is stronger than you." Mia, trembling, clutched her brother, looking to their mother with wide, fearful eyes. The lantern's light seemed to pulse with their fear, wavering now like a heartbeat. "Leave us," Eva screamed, her voice raw, pouring every ounce of herself into defiance. She turned to the doorway, the outside world only an echo of the warmth they had known before. It loomed, dark and suffocating, beckoning her to let go. "We're not afraid. I won't give in." At that moment, something shifted. The floor trembled beneath them, wooden planks shifting like living flesh. She could feel the hut breathing, alive, and a new thought crept into her mind, chilling her blood. Maybe the dark had always been here, waiting for them to unleash it. The grotesque figure's voice slashed through her thoughts. "Embrace the shadows. Let them take your pain." "No," she shouted, as the ground beneath her opened, a maw ready to swallow them whole. With every ounce of strength, Eva lunged forward into the doorway, pulling Mia and Liam with her. The lantern still blazed as they crossed the threshold, and suddenly, a metallic tang filled her mouth. The world outside was starkly cold, and the shadows shrieked behind them, furious and betrayed. But as they stumbled out, the ground shifted beneath her feet. Where was the safety of the forest? Instead, they emerged into a swirling void, a landscape of smoke and whispers. The chilling air seeped into their skin, and Eva realized they hadn't escaped. They had stepped into a mirror version of their world. The darkness had simply shifted. "What is this place?" Liam stammered, eyes wide with terror. "Stay close." Eva gripped their hands tighter, panic rising again. They were lost now. the flickering light feeling weaker amidst the relentless shadows encroaching on all sides. "We need to find a way back." A deafening roar erupted, shaking the very ground. Eva froze, dread pooling in her stomach as the figure emerged anew from the shadows, its eyes glowing like embers. "Run," it hissed, mirroring the plea of their own hearts. But where could they run? As the shadows twisted and twirled around them, Eva clutched the lantern, heart racing. The light flickered once more, and she felt the weight of her desperate choice. Would she lead them deeper into the abyss or find a way to fight back? Suddenly, a flicker of hope sparked in her mind, a name whispered on the wind. A power she hadn't considered. Could she be their salvation or their ruin? As the darkness closed in like a tide, the choice loomed heavy before her. Would she unleash the very thing she feared most? "Fight!" she shouted into the suffocating void, and the shadows roared in response. But at what cost? The darkness lurched and swayed, its malevolence palpable as Eva grasped the weight of the lantern tight in her hands. Fear surged within her, a storm of dread intertwining with the flickering hope. Every instinct screamed to flee, yet deep down, a flicker of understanding ignited. This darkness couldn't claim her. Not today. Not ever. "Stay close to me," she shouted, the urgency clawing at her throat. She felt her children's small hands tremble in hers. Together, they stood anchored against the rising tide of shadows, where the line between nightmares and reality blurred. "Mama, what are we going to do?" Mia's voice wavered, a fragile lifeline that made the weight of the moment more unbearable. "Look for a way back." With steely determination, Eva spun, scanning their twisted surroundings, the fog wrapping around them like a premonition of despair. She spotted a faint glow ahead, a distant flicker in the haze. "Over there," she pointed, charging forward, urging them with her fierce resolve. But behind them, the figure slithered through the gloom, a distorted mass looming larger, darkness spilling from its grotesque form. "You cannot escape, Eva," it bellowed, its voice echoing like thunder, reverberating in the very marrow of her bones. The shadows thickened, closing in, their whispers a maddening cacophony. "Run!" She felt her heart race as adrenaline pumped through her veins, instinct driving her to the light ahead. The lantern dimmed yet again, the battle within becoming a war of wills. "Mama, don't leave us," Liam squeaked, fear coating his words like venom. "I want tea," she promised, lowering the lantern slightly toward the floor. In that moment, the shadows recoiled, the light cutting sharp like a knife. She pushed through, determined, dragging her children along, as her courage sparked anew. "Stay with me, don't look back." They stumbled forward, branches grasping incessantly against their clothes as they moved. The glowing light ahead pulsed bigger, warmer, almost alive. But it was the shadow's wail that urged them on, hissing in despair, gnashing toward them with the echoes from a haunting past. Churning dread built in the pit of her stomach as she thought of the shack, the entity lurking, savoring the tales of blood and darkness, waiting for them to falter. "What if we never get out?" Mia whimpered, glancing behind them. "No, this is the way," Eva exclaimed, fully knowing what lay behind was worse than uncertain freedom. With trembling hands, she held the lantern high, urging the light to pierce through the fog that clung to them like shackles. Something shifted behind them, the ground trembled. A monstrous gurgle bubbled out of the shadows, pulling. "You will join me, sweet Eva. You do not truly wish to leave, no," she shouted. "We're not yours." Running toward the glow felt like a race against her own terror. The path ahead revealed more than just light. It shimmered and distorted like a mirage, twisting time and space. What was this fear, this refuge? "Mama, I trust you." Liam's small voice seeped through the chaos. Every inch they took felt like 1,000, but she steeled her heart, the heat of love piercing through the darkness. "I trust us, sweetheart," she murmured back, squeezing their hands tighter, pushing them toward their salvation. And then, with a blinding pulse, they reached the light, and it enveloped them in warmth. The world shifted again. The shadows halted, screeching as darkness clawed at the brilliance. "Now!" Eva yelled, the command spilling forth from every inch of her being. And together they leaped toward the radiance, fueled by sheer will. In that moment, the lantern erupted into a cascade of vibrant light, its brilliance expanded outward, building, pushing the shadows back like the tide retreating from the shore. "No!" hissed the figure, its form dissolving into a mist of shadows, the angry shrieks resonating between the murmurs of hope. The light enveloped them completely, a cocoon against the last throes of darkness, its tendrils writhing away, no longer holding dominion over them. And then silence. They stood together, in an expanse of calm, the air filled with a gentle tranquility that felt foreign after the chaos they had endured. "Mama?" Liam's voice broke through the haze, small and tentative. "It's all right, honey," Eva whispered, feeling her heart slow down, her breath returning. "Mama, you did it!" Mia exclaimed, eyes wide with wonder. Eva looked down at her children, relief crashing over her like a wave at sunset. The warmth of safety returned, the chill of night melting away. She enveloped them in an embrace, grounding herself in the reality of love, of hope, of home. The darkness had not claimed them. They would go back, rebuild, share laughter over cracked sidewalks and poorly decorated trees, turning every shadow into laughter. "Christmas will be our time, our joy," she vowed softly, pulling them close, ignoring the echoes of the past that might still linger. In her heart, she knew that together, they could navigate through the darkest of nights and find their way home. Above, the stars twinkled fiercely, a blanket of light scattered across the vast canvas of the night, as if the universe celebrated their return. If you made it to the end, you need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss out on the next spine-chilling story. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Join the conversation. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about the ending. What did you think? And please, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything.